From the ship's mainframe, they extracted a list of potentials. The agents leveled their wrath on the helpless, and Neo was the only one who could stand against them.
Oh, we going live now.
Now you know that this don't make no kind of sense. Scared of pain, so you fear hurt. I don't celebrate till the body's near dirt. Go to hell, they gon' tell you I was there first. Every opponent will tell you I was there worse. Having bad hunger pains and severe thirst. Have your earth in all black in the rear hearse. Too sticky to let the drama slide. And the sight of the blood will leave you traumatized. I can't do no wrong, least in my mama eyes. I got a gun in the truck, that's little mama size. That boy died from vocal homicide. The voice, the flow, and the way that he harmonized. Those that's real see the truth beyond the lies. In real life, I'm living proof we on the rise. Yeah, I was too smart to play with the dummies. Rather you kill yourself, save me the money. From the bottom, I don't mind if you pay me in 20s. They pop a lot of shit, but soon as you see them, they mummies. Ha ha ha, you guys is funny. We fresh to death, they alive and bummy. Plug told me 3 words, supply the country. I told him that the bullets and the 45s is chunky. That's why they say you can never get too comfy. Trips out of town, my lump sums come monthly. Might as well all team up and come jump me. This is uneven, I'm the only one breathing. Everybody get they turn, it's sun season. I'm only here for that paper, one reason. Nobody cares though, everybody's a weirdo. Dudes watching your back, tell me who watching theirs though. All you gonna see is the fire from out the air holes. Stick up kids get the desire to hit your earlobes. Left lane, all you hear is my gears, yo. Crown been in my closet for a couple of years, yo. Okay, enough with the foolery. And the costume jewelry. It ain't much you can do to me. The art of war ain't new to me. Little nigga, you better Google me. The city was mine after they said Big's eulogy. Oh man. Jadakiss season. The massacre. Telling you, I don't know if I can guarantee your safety next week. Jadakiss season. T5DOA. Don't ever forget that. Yeah, I mean.
Ashe, peace and benedictions.
Yeah, we are back. We are back. We are back.
Back on your ass. You know what I'm saying? You know, shout out to the not from Africa fam. You still African. You know, we still love you. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It is what it is. But I want to
the lost tribe of Judah.
I want Rick. Me and Rick was talking about this trending topic. You know what I'm saying? And you know, he hit me up and was like, "Yo, what the fuck is up with this? You know, statue situation." You know, and we decided, fuck it, we might as well do a video about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, play the video.
And that's the thing. You know, we're doing less background talk and more foreground talk, if that makes sense. You know, for lack of better terms. You know what I'm saying?
Cutting to the chase.
So, this statue, and the statue in question is this John right here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, CBS did this one.
Amen. So this is the boy who made the statue, Hank Willis Thomas. You know what I'm saying? So he the one who's responsible for this infamous statue in, where is it? In Boston. So let's go back. All right. So, you know, I seen a lot of different memes about this, John, and you know, some of them is funny. You know, some of them is like kind of raunchy. You know, and you know, we'll get to that in a minute. But you know, angles. I want to say angles are everything. Just like how the Instagram models be talking, angles are everything. You know, when it comes to this John right here. You know what I mean? So this is a I guess you can consider this a giant bust. Is that accurate? Is that safe to say that this is a giant bust
Yeah, you could put anybody in there. That's what the thing is all about.
but
It's about
but
integration. So they
but
they
you
could be like they take the since black people made the struggle, you can be a part of it too. So that's why they took the heads off. The heads wasn't
well
important.
yeah I could definitely see what you're saying with that. You know,
It's about
but
all coming together, and they like, well, we got more power, so we're the hands that's on top, and y'all the hands on the bottom. You
now
understand?
yeah,
That's why they had the man hands on the top. But
and
they trying to.
that's
It, it,
definitely a symbolic way of looking at it. But just to not move too fast. Um, just for people that don't know, a bust is like more like a bronze or metal-like portion of a person. You know what I'm saying?
well, the funny thing
Prefer-
is, it's not
Preferably
really a
they're
bust because that's the opposite of the bust. The bust is
well,
the face
yeah, that's
and
what
the
I was about to
chest,
say.
and it
A
don't have the
bust is like
orbs. This shit just had the orbs. This just,
well, I mean,
it
yeah,
just
a
got the
bust
orbs,
is
bro.
preferably a section of a person that's being displayed or whatever, and it's preferably their face and their head or whatever. But technically, this is a could be viewed as a giant bust. You know what I'm saying?
It's
But
a nine bust.
it's from what I'm looking at it's it's an embrace basically. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of I've seen people. What made me like one thing I want to say about this is that it was trending, I guess. And when I was looking, every time I hop on Instagram, it was like this John was top of my feed, top of my feed, top of my feed. You know what I'm saying? And it was like different variations and stuff like that. And I seen a lot of people like, yo, what is this? Most people didn't even know what this is. So
Cause like this is how black people do it. I'm gonna tell you this like this. Who that? I don't know. I don't see no goddamn head. Who that?
right. So they gave us some base references. So what I mean.
Man, they could twist that thing around and say that's how that's
So
they could,
that's the boy Instagram page. If anybody want to follow him. So this is the picture in question right here. So this is the picture that where they got the archetype from. You know what I'm saying? And we'll let Mr. Thomas say in his own words. What was his inspiration and what is the symbolism of the art? Because just like how we was talking earlier, art is usually for you. And I'm saying like the art that's displayed on this type of magnitude is usually for intelligent people who have some type of understanding of art. And one better way to understand art is to understand the artist. When you're looking at a piece of art, you're trying to get into the mind of the artist. You know, what
yeah.
prompts you
Sometimes they be off on the tangent though.
yeah, yeah, and that's the whole thing. Like art, different type of art can come from different type of expressions, different type of environments, different type of moods. You know, so art is an expression of your soul. This could be viewed as art. What we doing right now. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing about art is that it could be anything. You know what I mean? So when you look at the picture, you can kind of see that all right, it's not that crazy, but it does look crazy without the rest of the body. So it's like people start getting creative with so now when you look, that's why I said angles are everything. So now look at this angle right here. This is
It
the
don't look
traditional
right
agent.
right there. It don't look right on that last angle in the corner.
Yeah.
That
Now
one don't
this
look right. It just don't look right.
now was now I want to kind of point out like how you pointed out some things that could be viewed as symbolic. There's like I said, when you look at this statue from different angles, like in the bottom lower right hand corner, that reminds me of actually like a pretzel to be honest, but it could also be viewed as the symbol for infinity. You know, so when you see the interlocking of hands and, you know, and hugging somebody and embracing somebody, so this could be symbolic of infinite love or never dying love. You know what I'm saying? If you're looking at it that way. So let's look at some different angles. You know, now look at that right there. Now from this angle, you know, now a lot of people didn't show it from this angle. From this angle, it looks like a heart, like the shape of a heart. You know, from like Valentine's Day type shit. You know what I'm saying? So now that we look at it from different angles, we can kind of get more into the mind of the inventor here. You know, what is he trying to convey? You know what I mean? Like, it looked weird from the angle that we initially looked at it, but you see now some sediments, you know, starting to reveal themselves as we pan around this statue. You know what I'm saying? So
Well,
from this angle,
that's
like
what happens. It's almost like having a multifaceted situation where it gets so multifaceted that it just scours the meaning, because
right.
I see where he's going at with it, but the connection is so vague, it's foggy, you know. And I'm like, that's why when the family was looking at it, they was like,
well, art. Well, I want to say one thing about art is in a competitive nature to be innovative. You know, some things do become, you know, cryptic. You know what I'm saying? Because people want to. Some things you don't want it to be obvious. You know, it's like, all right, I want this. You know, when people go to the art gallery, you know, and they stare at a picture, they're staring at it and they're analyzing it, and they're trying to like psychologically profile the artist. Like, what was he trying to convey with this?
well,
you know
you gotta have
so artists are aware of that, so they'll kind of give somebody a puzzle. So this could be like art that's, you know, can you know, puzzle art. You know what I'm saying? For you to figure out, you know, what I'm trying to say. What is the message that I'm trying to convey?
Well, see,
you know,
that's what's the difference. That's why I think it's all a part of the whole situation.
Absolutely.
How the generation back then and the generation now, and the changes that happen, because like the connection is like, if Martin Luther King would look at that today, he'd be like, what the fuck is that? You know what I mean? So it gets to a point where the stick isn't a stick anymore, it's a gun.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's been transmuted into something that's not even like, I mean, if that was me, I'd be like, well, is that how my hands look? You know, I'm like, you know, where's me at? And that's,
well, I mean,
and that's
you know,
why, that's what the family
like,
was.
art is not, sometimes it's not often an accurate depiction, and you know, that's also an expression of art. Like when you see those big head photos, you know, hopefully nobody's head is that size, but you know, the artist is conveying something. Even like when you look at old paintings and you see how like the Machiavelli painting, you know, a lot of paintings from the Medici family, you know, they all had what looked like the West Side logo up, you know, and contorting the fingers in paintings was a way for artists to send messages to each other, or to, you know, people who are, you know, in that craft, or, you know, if you get what I'm saying. So
yeah, I think what happened was,
know, and for somebody who's not in that, they might not understand why are these fingers look like this. You know, what does that mean? You know, so it's like art gets down to the very detail, you know, to the very last nook and cranny. Like, you know, his finger could be slightly to the right or to the left to signify something. You know, and that's
the funny thing is, during the '60s is when the abstract art was really getting crazy, is right after Martin Luther King died. So it's pretty interesting it happened like that. But the reason why art went like that is because people had photographs, so they didn't really need to do the whole fine art thing. So the artist just went in la la land and started going crazy with things and trying to connect abstract connections. Just like this is an abstract connection that they're trying to pull people into these new abstract connections. Just like the new cultural abstract connections they're pulling together.
Right.
But
Now,
I mean,
now
at the
this
same
is,
time, there's a balance that needs to be made. Because you go to one.
and it's crazy that you said that, because, and when we look at it from this angle, we see some more symmetrical behavior that can be conveyed as balance. You know what I mean? And we'll let we'll let the artist, speak in his own words.
And then you got to think that
But
that
this is what I was saying about the pretzel 8 kind of infinity shaped figure right here. Like, if you get what I'm saying, like.
oh well, you got to understand that the whole Infinity 8 thing was what he was going for because it's two hands intertwining. So that's two circles intertwining. So of course he's going for the infinity.
Right.
But the whole thing is like, how come he couldn't put the heads there? Like would that would have distracted from the message that he's doing? See, it gets to the point
I think
where.
so. I think so. I think for him to do what he was trying to do, it was necessary for him to remove, all, not even just the heads, but the rest of the body, because when you just have the arms make a interlooping infinite symbol. So it's like almost like a circle or a horror, or the cycle of life, the recycle. You know what I'm saying? The symbol of infinity. So the symbol of infinity overlaid with the different angle of the heart symbol is like infinite love. If I had to draw one word from those two angles, the first one would be love and it would be infinite. And to kind of decipher that, I would say, okay, infinite love.
Well,
you get what I'm
the
saying?
other thing I want to show to you is the reason why they took the faces off. The same reason why they took the noses off the pharaoh, because what that was right there was two black people loving each other to the end, showing that black love. But they took that off and made it into something that could be anything else.
And that is for to spark intellectual conversations and difference of opinions is exactly what the artist can also go for, while
Because guess
actually
what? When
hitting
you
his
take
mark.
off,
So
when
like if he knows that he or she knows that my message is X, Y, and Z, but I'm going to present it in a way that it looks like E, D, J, and F, and then people have to try to decipher or understand what I'm trying to get at, even though you know what I'm saying? It's almost like a suspense film in a
I'll
piece of
put it
art.
to you this
You know what I
way.
mean? Because people look at it and some people might have a different interpretation than somebody else. And
See,
that's
that's why.
it's like almost like when you consider like an ink spot. When they show people those different kind of ink spots and people see different things and they say, all right, that's because of your different, that's because of your personality type, that you see, this in this spot, in this abstract design. Somebody else might look at this abstract design and they might see the complete opposite of what I see. They might see something hateful. They might see something evil. They might even see something that's symbolic of something completely opposite of what I'm saying. I might see something that represents love. Somebody else might see something that represents conflict. You know what I'm saying? Like it's and that's the deep thing about it. Like even when you hear the artist speak for himself, even when he says out his own mouth can be, taken and people can take different viewpoint perspectives on what he says. If you get what I'm saying. So
Oh yeah,
all
but
of it is
like I said,
all of it is intriguing, is stimulating. Art has always been a good talking piece to spark, intellectual conversation, because it's really about not just digging into the mind of the artist, but also the minds of the viewers, because all the viewers might see different things.
Is neutralizing.
So I want to ask you. All right, now I said I see kind of a pretzel figure eight kind of shape right here that could, be symbolic of balance, infinite love, and to go even further, the bond between men and women, or black men and women. Now you said that. Now I want to kind of quantify or veggie back off of what you're saying, that that the heads in the African features have been removed to kind of like pivot away.
And if you look at it, if you look at
to pivot, if I just want to say this, and you tell me if I'm right, to pivot away from it being exclusive to black people. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, if people come and look at the statues, it's like, well, why is this statue of black people here? So it's something to kill two birds with one stone. So if we want to just if I want to convey a message of love, that could just be person to person, woman to man, woman to woman, man to man. It could be any of that, because it's just arms. So it's no real way to say. Now, of course, we can look at this. Since we had a base reference picture, we know, okay, this is MLK's arms, and this is Coretta Scott King's arms, and this is a man's arms and a woman's arms. But just without the rest of the body, one could come up and say they're just arms, and these arms interlock, represent love.
See, that's what I'm talking about, and that's what I mean by straight. When you don't have bones, you stray off, and you're immobilized, and that's what the art does. The artists try to spread their art to as many people as possible.
And you mentioned the Sphinx, which is actually a good point, because a lot of times, well, all the time, we always hear that the Sphinx was disfigured solely because of the hate for African people, which is probably true, given all the other things that we see that denounce Africa and display, outward hatred to Africa, the justification of the pillaging of the land and murdering people. We do see a lot of that. So that's why it's easy for one to lean to that suggestion, like, yeah, the nose was shot off the Sphinx to hide the black features because these people hate black people.
I'll give you another.
Let me say this. It could have been exactly what you're saying. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that.
Well, I want to say one more thing to add on to that.
Look, let's say somebody is coming up to the Sphinx, like somebody is going into the art gallery looking at a piece of art, and let's say this person says, I don't like this because this is like, basically, let's say the people looking at this that were not African, maybe they felt that this was racist, or this was like slighting people, or shitting on people, like, damn, why you gotta put your face up there? Why can't it just be a face? Why you gotta put black features on it? Why can't it just represent people? We're good people too. What I mean? I'm saying, like, a person, these people, although from outside looking in, we could say, oh yeah, these people are haters, they're evil, they're racist. But in their own mind, in their own perspective, they might have felt that what they're doing was justified. And that's often how things go. Like, when people do something that you like, that you don't like, doesn't necessarily mean that they did it for that intention.
People have different values.
They might be feeling that they're doing something holy, even. By doing
they're
it.
thinking, oh, this is beyond that. This is beyond that. But my beliefs are beyond that. And that's what they tell you. You understand?
But you can see the hatred in it, because this is not the Please Touch Museum. Keep your hands to your goddamn self. Leave people's shit alone.
But the funny thing is, like, check this out.
You start fucking with it, that's bad business. You know what I mean?
Check this out. I don't know if you noticed, but in that picture, Martin Luther King, he was a lot taller than her, right?
Right.
But if you look at how he says, this picture right here says it all. what they did was they cut off their heads and made them equal. What they thought
lower
was
the shoulder, to lower the shoulder,
they cut off
give a
the
balance,
shoulder because the hand
to
was a
give
little
balance.
too high. So
Now,
look at how even it is. It's been cut equal.
Now, of course, we know that he had his upper body turned on a 90-degree angle.
So it was higher.
To hug Loretta Scott King as she stood next to him.
Right.
And this is when he received the Nobel Peace Prize, if I'm not mistaken. But
but they made sure it was cut equal.
For him to be about 3 or 4 inches taller than her when he turns to the what looks like to the right to hug her, he would his shoulders would definitely be commandeering a lot of her personal space.
But look at the picture.
And that was the whole that was part of the reason why she embraced him that way, because that would have been almost like a sideways bear hug thing. A sideways bear hug kind of, what I'm saying? Like,
but they cut it down. They cut them down the size. You see, they cut it down the size to make it equal.
Go to social media and repost things, and we see stuff like this.
Oh man, this is just crazy.
And it's like, the internet is undefeated. Black people went to town on this. Now I don't even know if they black people.
Man,
there's
I'm
no
telling
way
you,
to
man.
know that whoever made this is black. We might assume they're black because
it's too many holes in that art piece. That's what it's telling you right there. It's too many holes in the art piece because it can be interpreted too many ways.
It's not the art piece. It's too many holes in people's way of thinking. Because somebody can see now. Before we even got to the foolishness, I would say we got to the source of what this is trying to convey, and now we see like the foolishness and that's why I said angles are everything. You know what I'm saying? So now that we get in these different angles, people can kind of manipulate. What's not necessarily what's being said.
Big
People
raves,
can make we live in the meme culture. People can and when you make memes, it's literally about being creative and taking things that may convey something else and making them convey something else, or manipulating what this is conveying to what you wanted to say. So this is a perfect example of the art of the meme. You know what I'm saying? So
there's a reason why you guys stay on the roads, though.
Some art you might like, some art you might love, some art you might not understand, some art you might think is downright disrespectful. But
dude,
even this is art. This meme side by side next to this, you might not like it, but it is art.
Let me tell you something.
Because just like we explained that, you kind of probe the mind of the artist. The same thing is here. Because now we moved around to a different angle, now a whole different message can be conveyed simply from just going and taking a different perspective. And a lot of people can take this, what we're saying, symbolically, that in your life, you might be looking at something from one perspective. Just like, the powers that shouldn't be, they have different symbols that represent things that they consider to be godly. And to have a 360-degree perspective on something is like the wise old owl. You know what I'm saying? That's why the owl is wise.
But let me tell you something. Remember what I told you before?
And different viewpoints.
Remember what I told you before, though. What did I tell you before? In the absence of communication, perception is reality.
Right.
Remember I said that? So let me tell you, I just told you right now that piece of cheese got too many holes in it. It's too many holes in it, and that's one thing you gotta be.
Like what you said, but that also is the counterbalance to what you're saying, because art is intended to be that. You know what I'm saying? Like most art is meant for you to try to figure out what this is. That's the name of the game. When you look at Picasso, when you look at Basquiat, you know, when you look at all these different famous art, artists, sometimes people have trouble deciphering where this artist is going with this picture. That's why I said somebody might like it, somebody might love it, somebody might hate it, somebody might think it's offensive, but it's still art. You know, that's the thing about art. You know, it's for who it's for, basically. Somebody might buy a piece of art for $1 million, but somebody might think it's not worth nothing.
Yeah, but it gotta be in tune with the culture, though.
Now look at this right here. Now
you
this
see what I mean?
Like,
I'm done,
a Karen
bro.
police officer that, you know.
My nigga.
The crazy thing is that, you know, this white cop has black hands or black arms. You know, so that's.
Oh my God.
But the same way how somebody can be thrown off by art in its original context, when it's contoured and taken out of context, it can be thrown off just the same. So it can be like, damn, like somebody could look at this and say, what does this mean? And somebody else come along and say, can't you see that he's choking her? You know what I'm saying? And look, look, even without, you see how the mind can manipulate and make things be different than what they are, just like how you said, perception is reality. So these people's perception, these people's interpretation of life, you know, their vernacular, their viewpoint perspective in life can give a different outlook, just like the ink spot. So where somebody else sees love, somebody else sees something bad. Now from this angle, somebody can say, I can see it now. Somebody can say, this statue symbolizes the gender war between black men and black women. This is clearly Martin Luther King having Coretta Scott King in a chokehold. That just took the imagery out, and I'm going to put this image of a woman here to show you that he's in fact choking her and not hugging her. I can see people doing that. There's so many people on YouTube that spin narratives and take things out of context. It's unnerving. We already know this. You know what I'm saying? So you know, let's look at, you know, some of this more ratchetness. And again, we assume that black people did this, right? I know I did. When I seen this, I said, this has got to be some crazy black people ratchetness. You know what I mean? So, hold on, man. Hold on. Because we might want to overlay something on this. But, they showing us a different angle here, right? And it looks like it could be a chokehold, you know?
That's
so it adds exactly to what you're saying.
I tried to tell you, man. There's too many holes in that cheese. See,
and that's the whole point of us doing this video.
Look.
To say things, but to allow people to expound and think about things. You know what I mean? To give different angles, to go through the different degrees. You know what I'm saying? And as we cross the 33rd minute mark, to go through the different degrees, right? To have the different viewpoint perspectives. To have the 360 degree perspective, so that we have a better understanding. And, you know, and this is a good video to go with after, you know, the recent nonsense. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what's missing amongst us, is that a lot of us, we don't try to get to the 33rd degree. We don't try to get all the way up to the cranial cavity. You know, we don't raise the Kundalini energy all the way up to the crown chakra. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, if we're not doing that, then how can we gain 360 degree perspective on things? If the goal is to gain 360 degree perspective on things, then why do people just stop on their degree, stop at their perspective, right? Stop at their angle, right? And they stay on their angle, and they just stay there, and they just project what they think that the rest of it should be based upon my angle. And this is why
based on their
it's
perception.
Important. Right, it's based on their perception. This is why it's important to go through the degrees, go through the angles. You know what I'm saying? So that you have the 360 degree perspective before you make your conclusion. You know, there's a lot of symbolism in what we're doing right here. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, let's go through the rest of these angles, right? Now, what would you say this is right here, Rick? What's your opinion about this angle?
It's trimmed down. It looked like.
No, remember you said.
It looked like Ben Rames might be
See
right
how the
about
angles.
that one.
See how, like, remember we said angles are everything. Now, remember you said that they trimmed it down to make him look like he was the same height as her. But here, from this angle, we can see his shoulder above her shoulder. If we scale that down to a regular height, that would be about 1.5 inches over her shoulder. You know, so her shoulder is lowered from this angle. You know what I'm saying? Then you see his arm coming up on the other side, and that's probably the side that we've been looking at most of the time. But this angle is one of the angles that hasn't been seen that much. Just like the heart shape angle that we looked at, that was second from the first. You know what I'm saying?
It's just too many.
Like there's some white people there.
I know that's what it's all about. It's about them now.
I had a vision, frankly. I had a vision, frankly.
It's called The Embrace. And to design it, Hank Willis Thomas pored over hundreds of images of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and his wife, Coretta Scott King.
There was an intimacy that I saw that wasn't really highlighted often. You know, often when you do look closely at pictures, they're holding each other's hands.
One photo in particular got the sculptor's attention. The reaction when Reverend King was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 19...
Yeah, so I was right. So yeah, the Nobel Peace Prize. Okay, so you see that's about what we're seeing right there, which is pretty much almost accurate. What would you say, Rick? Does that look the same?
Not really. Yeah. I mean, it was kind of angled I don't know how they got it.
That is so fine. But you know what's crazy? I just want to, let me address this. Hold up. Let me go back. All right, now look at this hand right there. So his hand, because I just thought of something. See his fingers right here? I don't think his fingers were the same way. Now again, like I said, with art, you know, they might change, you know, I guess you would say the trajectory of fingers to convey certain things. But you know, maybe I could just be looking too deep into that. But I'm gonna scale back a little quick. And oh, no, matter of fact, this is a different video. So his hand there is kind of the same, but not really. It looked kind of monkey pawish, actually. You know what I'm saying? But you know, I guess with the type of material that they're using, they couldn't. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's always gonna be fun.
And when Reverend King was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964.
I just love that image. Him hugging her with such glee and such joy and such pride. I saw the pride on her face. And I recognized that this was teamwork. And all of his weight in that picture is like on her.
All right. Would you agree with that statement? I don't necessarily agree with that statement. He said
I think that statement.
Does it look like all of his weight is on her? Does she look like all of his weight is on her?
Man, their faces was together, man. That's what I don't understand. Why
now,
would you
know,
miss
and
that
it's
part?
like, all right, again, when we talk about symbolism, you know, what is to?
I think he missed the point. He just went off trying to make it.
Like in the age of feminism, you know,
and LBG,
you know, it's about making women like more like masculine. So if we can take, you know, just like in the Matrix when they made Neo he couldn't fly in the Trinity that he was carrying him around. You know, and that's because they want to reverse the whole damsel in distress kind of knight in shining armor, man comes and saves woman, you know, vibe. So if we can take a man like Martin Luther King and say, you know, that he's putting all his weight on Coretta Scott King to kind of embroider the female, I can see, you know, how that's actually good, because, you know, like they always say, behind every strong man is a strong woman. So, you know, I'm pretty sure there's times that, yeah, he did have to put all his weight, you know, on her. Not in a physical manner, you know, but yeah, if he's had a rough day, or, you know, he's not sure of himself, I'm pretty sure that, you know, she could carry that weight. And that's about the balance about men and women. And I do want to say, you know, about the whole situation with him allegedly sleeping with 40 women, right? Now, because I've seen a lot of people, and it's ironic to me. Well, it's not really, but I just wanted to say that. But I kind of think that yo, you messing me up with that piano, man. I'm trying to. That shit it got me feeling like I want to go to sleep. But what else?
I'm trying to learn how to play
so,
Mr. Rogers'
look,
Neighborhood.
People, I wanted to address that. I've been saying, you know, several times, you know, we got to be cool with saying that we don't know something. A lot of times people try to have an answer for something, even when they don't know what they're talking about. They try to impose themselves in situations or places or back in history, like they was there, they wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? And they'd be like, oh, I've seen a lot of people, you know, ironically, you know, that claim that they're not from Africa, you know, going at Dr. King like, oh, you know, he slept with 40 women. And then I'm like, well, did you see him insert his manhood into 40 women? Were you there? You know what I'm saying? When he got the jump off call? If not, then as a man, because, you know, men don't spread rumors and men don't gossip. So, you know what I'm saying? So as a man, allegedly, you say allegedly, he slept with 40 women. Because
and he pulled out in 26 of them. He pulled out. In 26 of them, the rest of them, he just left it in there. He just cream pied them.
But it's a way of destroying, and see, to say that he cheated on his wife, it's a way of destroying the union between black men and black women, through destroying Martin Luther King and Coretta Scott King's union, to say, well, he was unfaithful to her, and you know, and that's one of the things they always, you know, chase black women around mentally with. Your man is cheating on you. He's unfaithful to you. He doesn't love you. You're not attractive, or, you know, all these different things that, you know, erode the balance or the weight bearing of the union between black men and black women. You know what I'm saying? And
well, there's like one simple thing back then. People, is a difference back in the 50s that people in today don't have, and that's what people back then kept their word. They didn't believe in divorce like how it is today. I mean, back then, when they said till death do you part, that means, you know, ain't no U-turns on the block. Right. But, you know, everybody got a U-turn, and the more U-turns people do, the less it is important. So, and now they trying to make it where how they trying to tell things was different back then than how it really was. So that's why they gotta change the story and say, yo, it's like this. That wasn't important. This is. Mm-hmm. So it's a misdirection. That's why
you know, he says, the author, you know, in his own words, said that you know, it's about, you know, him putting his weight onto her, you know, and he said that he saw, you know, teamwork. You know what I'm saying? And that's another thing that's important, not just for black men and black women, but for black people. Teamwork. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, people might not agree with this guy. They might not like this guy. They might not even trust this guy. They might say, well, he means something completely different.
Well, I'll put it to you this way: the family was
I
paid off, and they still was complaining.
Well, yeah, you know what I'm saying. And I'm not necessarily sure if you can elaborate why they were complaining, or at least in your opinion. I'm not sure why they complaining. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it's art. You
gotta see it. It's straight from too far from the family. See, like you said, they like that whole integration thing is going too far to the point where you don't even see who it is, and see the family member is like they want to see Martin Luther King and his wife, but you don't see it there. You just see a pair of hands. You're like, I got these hands for you, nigga. So it's like,
I don't know. I mean, I think one thing I think that one of the reasons why we seeing things like this is because there's like an oversaturation of tributes to Martin Luther King. It's like the sad thing is that as far as black leaders, the pantheon of black leaders, we only know the ones on the boulevard.
Well, I do know one thing.
Too much sauce. But that might have been too much sauce. But we could get to that.
In that marriage, it was till death did they part. Yeah. No, and it was for good or for bad. Even they were going through bad times, maybe, but they went through them till death did them part. So they fulfilled the contract.
But even though they like to favor the ones on the boulevard, I can't say nothing bad about promoting the union between black men and black women. So if black men and black women can look at this and find, just to look at this picture right here. I like to have this picture up on the screen right here. Just, it's like, I don't have to agree. Like some people who say, he's this or he's that or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not even into that. At this moment, it's like we need love and unity and working togetherness in our communities. And just to see this imagery right here, to see a black man hugging a black woman and they embracing each other, that's a beautiful thing. And
everybody know that he would. Everybody know that if they were in a robbery or whatever, he would defend his wife to the end. Like, so what's the point?
It's like one thing is that from art, just like a psychiatrist, when we see people's reaction to art and their interpretation of it, it gives us a psychological scope of what these people thought patterns are. You know what I'm saying? So what we seeing in the world is that the thought pattern of people is very bleak, very dark, very negative. You know what I'm saying? Because people took something that could be viewed as something beautiful, something good, and they took it and inverted it and made it something dark and twisted. You know what I'm saying? And that was the kind of the point that I wanted to make with all of this is, is using this almost as, using this as that piece was used as an archetype, to hit multiple points.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
I was wondering if it was that a pun intended, because that was some twisted art, bro.
Well, everything I say is pun intended, so I try to keep up with my pun.
But check that out. I mean, it's a bunch of twisty arms like Twizzlers, right? And like you missed the whole point. That was a man and woman that was married till death did them part. They fulfilled the contract. They ain't getting no divorce.
Yeah, infinite love. And it's like,
and it was
for somebody to take it and make it a chokehold. It says a lot about that person's character.
And I'll put it to you this way.
About? You know what I'm saying?
They ain't one
of like, just like for somebody to think about like raping a woman or getting the girl pregnant and then like leaving her with child. But that takes lack of integrity.
But that see, in the modern age,
a person like that is not truly a man.
In the modern age, they take the heads off because the man isn't the head of the household anymore. So everybody's kind of like sawed down. So that's what they trying to show, but it wasn't sawed down. It was sawed down by white people. But I mean, the artist interpreted how he says it, but I know good and well he ain't want to put a face on there because that would be like showing like marriage stuff, like promoting marriage, and they ain't
Well,
want to show that.
I think, and you know, I can't say that you're wrong because that's an interpretation, and that's what art is for. It's made to have different perspectives and different interpretations. So
Well,
I would say
the
I
thing
would
that
say
makes
that.
it. But look, listen, the thing that would makes the interpretation emphasize is what they're emphasizing. Like,
Well,
you
but
know,
that's your perspective. You know, again, art.
that
That's what you said. Like if I give somebody a piece of art, and I just say, "Here, have at it," right? And I don't tell you what it's for or what it means. It means whatever you want it to mean. You see what I'm saying? But if somebody gives a context, you know, even you know, even if that person is trying to like throw us off track, that is still our base reference. Now we might find other things in this that suggest something else, and that's where you get occult symbolism, something that is hidden. You know what I mean? Now occult just means hidden. You know, there's a lot of spook around these words, but something that's hidden or hiding in plain sight would be occult symbolism. You know, so
well, I know all I know is black people need to keep their heads on their shoulders.
yeah, and you know, and that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, and these are all thought-provoking perspectives. You know, so no matter what, so no matter
I
what somebody, so no matter
understand.
what somebody's viewpoint perspective is, they're all right because at the end of the day, it's about having the 360-degree viewpoint perspective. You know what I'm
I'm just
saying?
saying, man. You want to
So
keep your
you
head
know,
on your
let's play the
shoulders.
rest of this video clip, so then we can start up the second half of this. You know, Instagram only lets you go an hour, so don't you don't have to hit the end. You don't have to end the broadcast. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just restart the stream on Instagram after the 1 hour mark. So let's play this.
Teamwork. And all of his weight in that picture is like on her.
Right now, like I said, I don't think that symbolically that's the right thing to convey. I think that the balance, you know, just like our ancestors intended, balance, you know. So it's not that he's solely dependent on her or that she's solely dependent on him. There's a balance, you know what I mean? And that's where I want. Even if he says no, it's not about balance. It's about, you know what I'm saying. I can say, all right, I see what you're saying, but for me, this this is my this is what I want to think about. Now, and see, and that's different than what it is. You can look at something and have your own interpretation of it, but if the creator told you, that person who created this said, "Look, this is what I meant when I you know what I'm saying, when I made this." You have to you gotta respect that. It's like, all right, but it doesn't mean you can't have your own meaning for it. Like, all right, this is what this means to me, even though it means that, but this is what it means to me. So what
Well,
it
one
means to
thing
me
you
is
can
balance.
well, one thing you can do is you can do some research on his background and
There you
ask
go.
him that he came from a single parent home. You
And
know,
that's a great point that you made up too, because everything that we're saying here is symbolic. It's symbolic, and it is in reference to many other things. So, you know, a lot of times, you know, we would just take what this person is saying for face value. So he says that it's about this. He said it. He's the author. There it is. But when do we ever start to investigate the authors and see what's their background? What have they been through? Who are they connected to?
see,
What
once
is
you
some
start going into the four
what are
corners of the
some of
mind,
their previous artwork? You know, like
what?
John Podesta.
Yeah, once you go
You know what
into
I'm saying? Like a lot of people was talking about the whole Jeffrey Dahmer situation, right? And they made that to be funny. But did you know that John Podesta made artwork that was similar to the how bodies were found left by Jeffrey Dahmer? So there seems to be some type of syndicate going on with that. But that's a whole nother can of worms. You know what I'm saying? Because how would this man paint pictures of dead bodies in this, contorted in the same way that somebody else killed them somewhere across the country? Very
Maybe
interesting. You know what
they
I'm
were
saying?
inspiring each other.
You know,
No, that's some creepiness, man.
we did a 55. So let me pause this joint real quick. We signing off on Instagram so we can sign back on for the second half. All right, boom. Let me do that. Don't touch nothing. We still rolling. You know what I'm saying? So let me let that come back, and when that come back on, we're gonna start part 2. Now we was having this conversation about this statue, and we decided that instead of us intellectually masturbating and saying things to each other that we already know, we decided to come and make an intellectual baby with you all. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, why do people, why we do that? We preach to the choir when we could be sharing our viewpoint perspective with somebody else so that they'll gain a viewpoint perspective. If we already know these things, then what do we benefit by throwing things at each other that we already know? It's to the point where, unless we're practicing. If we're practicing, that's cool. But you know what I'm saying? It should be practicing to eventually go and use these talents, use this knowledge that we have. Water cooler conversations stay at the water cooler. You know what I'm saying? And we not water cooler niggas. You know what I mean? We want to bring knowledge, truth, knowledge, and wisdom to people wherever they stay. We want to bring the knowledge to their door, like Jill Scott. Some people want us to come to South Carolina, but we come in peace and love and bring truth, knowledge, and wisdom where we go. When somebody takes something from you, right, or they disrespect you and mistreat you, and somebody else laughs at that or witnesses that, and because they saw you get assaulted by somebody else, or you laughed at them because they got assaulted, they want to attack you and go after you, but they don't go after the person who stole their stuff. That's not admirable. That's cowardism. So it's a lot of coward behavior that we hope to enlighten and redirect. You know what I'm saying? And give a
That's just doing the easy thing. That's doing the easy thing instead of the right thing. So you're afraid to do the right thing. So that makes you a coward.
Right.
Because everybody knows it's right and wrong.
Don't be a bully or a coward. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If anything, be a cattleman.
Don't be a fool.
But I would rather be a bully than a coward. Because sometimes cowards need direction. Who's gonna keep the cowards in line? You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you gotta be a bully. Sometimes you gotta be the boss. Sometimes you gotta be the boss.
Don't be weak. Whatever you do, don't be weak. That weakness is not good. Right. That makes you into a coward.
CBS. When I go on Instagram, I see BS. When I go on YouTube, I see BS. When I go on Facebook, I see BS. Even when I go on Twitter, I see BS. So we gotta redirect some of that energy, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, people forget that we fight in spiritual warfare. You know what I'm saying? And we get all worked up and hopped up in what's in front of us in the physical and shit, and not understanding that this is a realm. You know what I'm saying? So, we gotta like disconnect from this realm and go to a higher understanding. But we can't do that if we arguing and fussing about what's on the radio station when the brakes went out in the car and we on the highway going 100 miles an hour. You know, somebody need to
Take
fix this shit.
control.
Yeah.
Well, see,
You know what I'm
that's
saying?
what the whole sovereignty thing is. Once you take control and you get sovereignty, then you can control where you're trying to go. Until then, you at the mercy of whoever's, I guess, the authorities, the guardrail, the streets, the roadblock. I mean, you gotta wait for that.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
So I think what's going on here? They telling me I gotta pay again.
But that's something, man.
I'm not doing that again. All right, so fuck it. We gonna keep going. I'm not paying them for that. Next time I'm using yellow duck. Fuck that. But where we at here? Okay, so we going back over here. So we was talking about when we start seeing these statue things, right? You know, when we start seeing all the talk about statues, and we had our own conversation about statues off the cuff. We started to look at this like a detective. Like if something is something negative being displayed here. You know what I'm saying? Like how we talk about people's mindsets and how they can take something good and make it bad. You know, is the person who made the statue, could he be guilty of doing that? You know, and it made us start to think. And we're not saying that he is. We're just asking the question because we know how, because of our history with certain statues, that's what made us start to think. Which brings us to the next statue that we want to talk about, is this statue right here.
Oh
You know what
man.
I'm saying? So, because we are familiar with this statue here in Philadelphia, and we understand the history of this man, that's what makes us question any other statue that they give to us as black people. And I did a video about this statue when they first put it up, and I said this is a political pacifier. Black people don't need statues. We don't care about statues. We need our own shit. Like what you say, Rick? License, titles, and deeds. We need ownership of our communities, ownerships of our financial situation, ownership of our houses. Our businesses, the inventions that we made. When we get into ownership, real ownership, this country literally can't give you ownership of the things that you really own. A lot of people, especially on TikTok, like to talk about black people and say that black people never invented nothing, while they own a phone that a black person invented, and they got lights in their house that a black person invented. But you know what I'm saying? All these things that black people invented around you that you use in your everyday life, the powers that shouldn't be don't want you to even know that these people made these things. They won't even pay the people who made these things. General Black, ironically, he made it illegal for a slave to own a patent because slaves were not considered humans. So the thing is that people can argue about the validity of slavery, if it ever happened or not, but black people really invented things. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like the machine that makes shoes, right? And they call it the nigger head machine. We're gonna get into that, at a later date, maybe on some Black History Month. You know what I'm saying? But
Well, I gotta say one, since it's the train thing right behind him. But Octavius Cotto was real close friends with Elijah McCoy, who was a mechanical engineer who made hydraulics for the trains, and his trains was the best. His hydraulic system was patented, and the white people tried to steal it, but they couldn't reproduce it properly. And that's where the whole real McCoy came from. His buddy right there. They was like real close buddies, like real close.
And like when I saw this statue, I just immediately was angry, given the climate in the country, people getting shot. We arguing about black people minimum wage and shit like that, and then they give us a statue. Philadelphia is one of the largest impoverished cities in America. You know what I'm saying? Lowest minimum wage. So it's a powder keg for violence. We know that poor, being poor, excuse me for not the technical terms, being poor creates violence. It creates crime. You know what I'm saying? So if you're not willing to pay people, adequate wages, then you're literally creating crime in your community.
Speaking of,
We did an interview with WHYY earlier today, and in front of the Roundhouse, and when we talked about the future of the Roundhouse, which we'll get into on another day, but we talked about the physical, spiritual, and mental dilapidation in our communities, and what pain and anguish and years of trauma has done to us overall. And my brother Rick had got a chance to interview the mayor earlier in his career, and one of the jewels that he dropped on the mayor is well, I'm going to let Rick say it. Tell the people what you said to the mayor as we roll into this topic of why we even talking about this with Brother Cato right here.
well, the funny thing is, it goes back to the statues, because they were tearing down the Frank Rizzo statue the same day. So I pulled up there and I interviewed him, and I was talking about how, the real problem in this whole culture is black ownership, and black ownership. I was like, before the whole civil rights era, it was 40% black ownership, and black people were 42% of the population.
Mm-hmm.
But then, forward it now, we're 43% of the population, but only 2.5% of the business.
Right.
I was like, what the happened there? So I was like, that right there tells you what happened. You go into the hood, you see all these businesses, but they're not black owned. So
now, a lot of people, when I talk to a lot of our elderly population, they talk about the decline of our neighborhoods. And when they went to school, they had black stores in their communities. You know what I'm saying? They literally had references of people making it, having something of their own ownership. So they seen people owning things that weren't drug dealers, that weren't criminals, and these people made honest living. So that is a base reference to strive towards. I want to own something too, whatever it may be. I might not want to sell candy like we had the dollar store right across the street from our school where they sold penny candy. So correction, it was a penny candy store. It wasn't a dollar store. I'm thinking I had to go back to the 80s. You know what I'm saying? So it was a penny candy store, and they had nothing but candy, and they used to kill it because all the kids used to come to school with they and it was crazy because even as a kid, I remember looking around and was like, yo, this is crazy, because I knew we wasn't supposed to be eating chips and candy and shit like that in the morning, and I used to see all the kids just going to town on candy and sugar early in the morning, and it's like, wow, but the store was black owned. That's not the point. The point is that the store was black owned, and I can say that I remember black owned stores. You know what I'm saying? We have youth now that rarely see black owned businesses, and when they do see them, they're mainly online. So there's no base reference unless you have a cell phone. There's no base reference around you. Like I forget, on one of them songs I heard, he said, how can I be positive when I don't see shit positive? You know what I'm saying? So how can the youth be positive if they don't see shit positive? So the elderly population that are speaking on the youth, they're speaking on the time when they had base references of what it means to make it in America. So when you have, even like in this time of day, they saying that these are some of the first times where people are producing generations that are forecasted to not do better than their predecessors, because the whole point is for your children to do better than you. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to drive. What's the saying? I'll drive I don't know. I'm not. Excuse me for not knowing the cars. George Bush this, but I'll drive a lesser kind of car so my child can drive a better kind of car. You know what I'm saying? So that's the whole point. You know what I'm saying? I'll go put my nose to the fire so my children have a better life. You know what I'm saying? But if you're grinding and working and grinding and you're trying to establish something for your children, and then your children grow up and they join the rat race or whatever, or you might not have the proper, tools or guides to give them to climb that ladder of success, then your children wind up not producing more than you, which makes us on a decline, and that's what's happening.
They
You know what I'm
get
saying?
soft and rotten.
Right. So ownership, the lack of ownership in our communities is what's crippling us. Because when we talk about now with this particular statue, he's talking about the Frank Rizzo statue because all of the racial injustice, people getting the cops called on them in stores and the cops coming and killing them, and all these different things allegedly. And you know what I'm saying? Like, these things, they caused a lot of dissension, a lot of anger in the community. So for them to just tear down a statue and then give us a statue of somebody who, when you dig into him, I would say, my opinion, he's like the Obama of his time. You know what I'm saying? But he's a lesser known black superhero, if you will. You know what I'm saying?
Well, believe it or not, he responsible for 3 amendments. I mean, that's kind of a big deal, and he was a black person.
Right.
That's kind of big.
So when I spoke on this statue with I was simply saying that I was mad that they gave us a statue and they're not trying to fix our communities. They're not giving people jobs. They're not even fixing the communities. And this was at a time when I found out that the state reps in different districts of the city actually get funding from the government that is supposed to go to, restoring the community, making sure there's no potholes, fixing the broken lights, things like that. And I found that a lot of these different state reps were either stealing the money, hoarding the money, or using the money for whatever project that they saw fit, and not consulting with the community to see what the community wanted.
And we got a $500 million surplus.
Like in the ninth district, they spent $1.4 million on a bus stop. You know what I'm saying? Total mismanagement of money. You know what I'm saying? Like that $1.4 million, when you got people walking around that are strung out on drugs or suffering from mental issues, sleeping in front of stores, you have children that are starving in the community. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times you see people that their communities have grass, and you assume that everybody who lives in those houses are well off. But you have people who are starving with grass in front of their house, and because they got grass in front of their house, not even the people who are supposed to be directing this money where it needs to go to help people, they're not even considering that. They're caught up in the facade. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of pacifying that happens in our communities. So for us to get a statue, I found it to be absurd. But once I talked to the brother Rick, he enlightened me on what this statue is conveying, which really had me floored, and in white words, flabbergasted.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna let Rick, talk about what this statue is actually showing us.
I mean, this guy, he was friends with Elijah McCoy, and he was doing the inventing stuff, making stuff with engineering, going across the country, help building the railroads, and then, this was during the 1860s and 1870s, and then he passed the amendment after slavery. And he was in Philadelphia, like he lived around where we was at, all around that area, and at the time the Irish was going through the whole mob war gangster thing and striving for power and influence, and they were still looked down on as lower than black people at the time, and they were just struggling trying to. It was like, man, now these natural born people here, you know, they're not slaves anymore. So the Irish, they got mad, and then it was this Irish dude. He was hired to go down there and kill Octavius Cato. So he shot him, and then he was running down like Fifth and South, and then he finally caught him up around about Third and South, and then gunned him down.
Hold on.
So it was like a slow run down. He was screaming for help. Nobody didn't help him. And then
you're talking about so just to be clear, you're talking about this brother in the statue right here got shot in his back running down South Street?
Yeah, so like when I looked at the picture, that's the first thing I thought of. But see, not too many people are educated about the life and death of him. But yeah, he got shot running, getting shot in the back, screaming for help, and he's like look like he's falling over. I was like, damn.
And he does look like he's falling over right here. Like I remember when the statue, because I made the video about it, and I remember seeing you put the skateboard in his hand, and I was like, yo, Rick crazy as shit. I mean, it was
if he had a
pick,
skateboard, maybe he would have got away.
I still didn't quite understand why he was leaning forward like this, but I didn't think far past that. It's like, all right.
Well, I once I figured out the whole story, I figured that out.
So upon talking to Rick about this, the light bulb just went off in my head. Like, yo, they shot this dude in the back, and then they give us a statue of him looking like he falling forward. That's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's really crazy.
And the funny thing is, I was just thinking about it
right now, on January 17th. I just had to throw that out there.
Yeah, he got shot the same place. He died at the same place where that South Street shooting was at. Where that one guy got killed on South Street. That same area. But black people always get shot down there sometimes.
He said black people always getting shot down there. That's crazy. So this is the news article of when he got shot on, when was this, 1865?
It should be
1864. So this is a depiction of him being shot in his back. So this is not just us like reaching like, how do you know he got shot in his back? This is an artist.
See, I can't. You know what I mean, bro?
Man, they just making up stuff.
Bro.
This is an article of him getting shot in his back, and this is the illustration of him being shot in his back. If this was modern day times, they would have security camera and him running down the street. You know what I'm saying? And white people not helping him. So you see a lot of white people in the picture, and you see the one black man by himself, and not surprisingly, nobody wants to help the black man. Even though this man is not just some, low-level person, he's a high-profile, high-caliber, high player at this time. You know what I'm saying? And in fact, the person who is low-level is the person who has the gun, the shooter. He's the low-level person here. You know what I'm saying? But sadly, what we see even in this world today, even a low life like this person right here who would shoot somebody in the back, like Bill Ford, right? You know what I mean? A Benedict Arnold, Bill Ford back shooter, right? Even that person is treated better than that of the likes of Octavius Cato, who would be like the equivalent of Barack Obama at his time. So allow our younger audience to take a moment to look at this picture and just imagine, like, especially in Philly here, since this is a Philadelphia statue, our young viewers from Philadelphia, Imagine if this was like some Kensington junkie with a ratchet shooting Barack Obama in his back on South Street.
You said
Like, flabbergasted is an understatement. Even white
oh,
people would be
man.
like, we gotta get this guy.
Nah,
You know what I'm
he ain't
saying?
had no
Like, you know what I'm saying?
security.
Like what Paul Mooney said, that Obama made white people. He said he shit apple pie. That's how much white people loved him. That he shit apple pie. So this is the Barack Obama of his time. You know, now he might not have been revered amongst white people like that, but
Well, then at the time you gotta take in consideration the Irish wars. At the time, Irish people from Ireland were coming over because of the whole famine situation. It was getting kind of rough, so they had those foreigners, and they were looked down on. They weren't considered American, so they tried to get in where they fit in, and they finally got in, like in the early 1900s, and got into the police force and stuff like that. Then they got caught up in the mob, but that's how their culture ran. But at the time, they were like, black people were literally getting ahead of them because they were owning land.
And I do know that, like, I'm not sure if this term is national or international, but of course in Philadelphia we call the police vans, we call them paddy wagons, and a lot of times people, nobody never questions, why is a paddy wagon called a paddy wagon? A paddy wagon is called a paddy wagon because when Irish people fight, it's usually somebody named Patrick. It's usually a nigga named Patrick that's out there fighting. A ginger, no disrespect to the gingers or my brothers, you know what I'm saying? Because
it goes back to that.
Actually, the Twa people, the Pygmy, were the first inhabitants of Ireland. But I digress. But when somebody named Patrick is out there fighting, whose nickname would be Patty, and he out there drunk and wanting to fight people, they said that gingers have a higher threshold for pain than other people in the world. So that would explain a lot of things. But yeah, so when Patrick is out there, stirring up, running amok, or causing a disturbance, they got to bring the van to come and get Patrick and the other Patrick. Sometimes it's Patrick versus Patrick, or Mick Patrick. You know what I'm saying? Patty versus Patrick. So call the paddy wagon. So after a while, it became the paddy wagon because there's always a nigga named Patty in there. You know what I'm saying?
So he died in 1864.
Yeah, 1864. So this is 1864.
So that was right. So he never saw the end of the what do you call it? The end of the Civil War. So it was rough. Man, that was during wartime. So shit was crazy. Wow. They probably had more foreigners because they just came off the boat, and most of the people went straight to war.
So it says a prominent colored man shot. The riots in the 4th and 5th Ward. Yeah, this is back then, so they got great. Yardley proved I can't. The font is like really crazy here. So, but all right, let me scroll down a little bit. I'm gonna skip past that. If y'all can see that, pause, screenshot, whatever. Take your screenshot. Let me move. Matter of fact, let me move this logo. Let me remove the logos as much as I can because I can't see past. Shout out to Pope and ENT logo right there. But, let me move that. Okay. Yesterday's. Okay. I'm thinking that says yes. Is that no? yet proved disastrous in many particulars. Possible to tell how many were wounded among those who were killed was Mr. Octavius V. Cato, okay, a prominent colored man of the city. The affair occurred about 3:30. So 3:30 is
Middle of the day.
the middle of the day, yes, but it is 3:30. So, very interesting. Mr. Cato was killed at 3:30. 3-3. Okay, very interesting. So, we are, and if you're familiar with the work we do here, we already talked about coincidences. You know what I'm saying? And how many times is a coincidence possible before it's mathematically impossible? You know, on a side note, Nipsey Hussle, he was killed at 33. I'm not quite sure the time of day he was murdered, but he was definitely killed on March 3rd. So I guess this goes back a while. They've been doing stuff like this, right? But I digress. Let's read the rest of what we can from this, because the font on this is very, very difficult to read. It's an old article, so I tried to get it the best I could. You know what I mean? All right, where were we? Mr. Cato, the affair occurred about 3:30. After the general riot at this time. B. He was standing the north side of South Street above, looking at the crowd which was in the neighborhood. While he was this is crazy. Accoded by I'm saying, I guess a company accoded by. Listen, you get the point of this. This is, if you want to read this, I'll send you the article. So if y'all want to read this, hit me up. I'll send you the fucking article. You know what I'm saying? But this is crazy. You know what I'm saying? I blew it up to get it on the screen, but the font is like super crazy small. And I ain't gonna spend too much time reading that. Y'all screenshot this or whatever, but I can see this right here. Overton Street to Bainbridge, and made good escape. So now that prompts me to want to go back and read it. But y'all get the point of what we're saying here. Is that, he got shot in his back, right? And they gave us this statue. So now that we know that he got shot in his back, and we're not just making these things up, right? That makes us look at this statue different now. It should force you to look at this statue different now. It forced me to look at this statue different once Rick told me this, and it forced me to go and do research. You know what I'm saying? I didn't reject what he said because of how I felt about it. You know what I'm saying? When we dealing with information, knowledge and information, you have to leave your emotions at the door. Just like if you're going into a Muslim household, you take your shoes off when you come in the house. You know what I'm saying? So, when you coming into the house of knowledge, or like the brother Christopher Lord, the house of wisdom, right? When you're coming into the house of wisdom, take your shoes off at the door. Take your feelings off at the door. Why do we take our shoes off at the door? Because your shoes have dirt on them, and when you step into a holy sanctuary and you come in unclean, it is uncouth and unpermissible, and you shouldn't be there. In layman terms, what the fuck is layman? But anyway, you get what I'm saying. So, in this parable, your shoes are like your feet. Your feet. Your feelings. Sorry, F words. Your shoes are like your feelings. So your shoes are like your feelings because your shoes have tracked dirt walking around all over this place, all over this globe. You've been tracking up dirt, kicking up dirt all in your shoes, right? And your feelings is kicking up all of this energy, all of this negative energy. And then you try to come into the house of knowledge and wisdom with your feelings, you're going to get your feelings hurt, and you're not going to succeed in the house of knowledge, in the house of wisdom. And you're probably going to be kicked out. You'll be a wayward, one-trick pony, snake oil salesman. You know what I'm saying? So you have to leave your emotions at the door before you come into the house of knowledge, to the house of wisdom, because the first thing that's gonna happen to you is you're gonna get whatever you think you feel. All of that's gonna get hurt because you can't, just like my brother Chef said, the truth is ugly. You know what I'm saying? And you have to be prepared to look at the ugly truth. And whatever you felt, and whatever you liked it, whatever you wanted it to be, sometimes often isn't. You know what I'm saying? So, I wanted to point that out to y'all. And speak in parables, you know what I'm saying? Do. You know what I'm saying?
That's how it be.
And those
But
who
you gotta
have
be
ears
real
to
careful.
hear, let them hear. And those who have eyes to see, let them see.
That's why you gotta know you gotta do that research. Like finding out, like just Google it, from front to finish. And you'll see where the motivations lie. That's why we have to use discernment and see how things can be miscued. And I mean, a lot of times it's just out there in front of your face.
Right. You have to use discernment. You know what I'm saying? You got to. That's one of the vital tools. Discernment helps to mitigate your feelings. You know what I'm saying? Because you might feel a certain way, but when you logically assess a situation, your feelings have to, like Donald Trump said, stand down and stand by. You know what I'm saying? Tell your feelings to stand down and stand by. Your feelings are like the Proud Boys. You know what I'm saying? And you gotta quarterback Donald Trump that shit. Stand down and stand by.
You gotta stay practical.
Take your shoes off before you come in this house. You know what I'm saying? Man, I think we proved our point. We think I
Pretty
proved our
much.
point.
Pretty much.
What y'all think about this? What y'all think about this statue now?
I think he's about to fall.
What do you think about that statue?
I think the head was important. It differentiated who is who.
Right. And I think that they was trying to say, we mocking that dude for getting shot in the back. And just like we're an hour and 33 minutes into this, that brother got shot at 3:30 in the afternoon. God damn. I think we could can we do some libation for these ancestors? Sign off. Because a lot of people that say they're not African, they do African things and they don't even know it. They bust on your mom, and say your mom is this and your mom is that, and then you might bust back and say your mom is this and mom is that. Your mom is we used to say your mom is a bald-head ski jumper. You know what I'm saying? Or your mom is a African booty scratcher, right? And what's ironic about that is here's your homework assignment for y'all who don't do your research. But you can't say I didn't give them to you. So you can't say I didn't give you your assignments. The playing the dozen, we like to play the dozen. You know what I'm saying? Or we call it bussing, or this Spice Gang. The Spice Game or whatever. You know what I'm saying? they call it different things, you know, all across, you know, the states, right? All across North America, right? But that playing the dozen actually originates in Nigeria. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, a lot of times, like our brothers and sisters, you know, although they might say they're not black, they do things and they don't even know that it's black, that it's African. They say they're not African. Let's be more distinct. They say they're not African, but they do African things. So with that said, you know, like when dudes get liquor, right? I don't have no liquor right here, you know, but I had some water. But when you know when people get the spirits, the alcohol, right? The spirits, they pour out some for the people who ain't here, or you know, as Rick say, you know, on the dead homies, you know, hashtag on the dead homies. You know, so we pour out a little liquor for our dead homies, and that's an African tradition of libation. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna pour out, you know, some water for the ancestors. You know, let's start with, you know, with the black woman, Coretta Scott King, Ashe, right?
Ashe.
Martin Luther King Jr.
Ashe.
Ashe, right? And Octavius V.
Cato.
Ashe. You know what I'm saying? You know,
you should have said on the dead homies during the interview.
Leave it there. Some good water.
You should have mentioned the dead homies on the interview.
On the dead homies. You know, somebody told me that we're not supposed to drink water. I'm not quite sure about that. I'm not 100% sold on that, you know, because I know how I feel when I drink water. You know, but I did meet a brother from Uganda who told me that he only drinks coconut water. You know what I mean? He kind of looked like you too, Rick. You know, I think I might post a picture of him. I was the ambassador for Philadelphia during the Adun Day festival. So, you know, and the Adun Day is coming up. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, people like, damn, this shit gonna be here in a minute. It'll be here before you know it. You know, but I met some brothers and sisters from Uganda. You know what I'm saying? That not surprisingly look just like me and just like you. You know, and they was like, they heard about Philadelphia in Uganda, and they said, "Oh my God, we like scared to come because we thought like everybody in Philadelphia is just like gonna like shoot you in the face." And he said, "Man, like, you know, I'm surprised to see that, you know, and I'm just I ain't even gonna, because you know it might sound like I'm like trying to pat myself on the back, but you know these people, you know, we had a good rapport. You know what I'm saying? That's the point I'm trying to make. Me and the brothers from Uganda who told me that he only drank coconut water, you know, and the sisters and, you know, the kids and all that was with him. We all had a good time, you know, at the Doom Day. But you know, shout out to black people connecting, no matter what nationality, no matter what religion, no matter what viewpoint perspective that they may have on how we got here and what we came to be or where we started at or whatever. You know, when we can work together and we can get past all of that and work together and get things accomplished, that's truly all that matters. You know what I'm saying? So I think we could leave it there. You know what I'm saying? With that said, would you like to sign off on that? Would you like to say something on that? You know, I know I want to you know, play my little. I think I got an outro. I think we got it to work. Did it work? Well, what you got?
Yeah, I'd say stay focused on the prize, and that's building and manifesting, creating ownership, and building for the bloodline. That's what you gotta do.
Right. Hashtag wisdom at the docks. Hashtag on the dead homies. You know what I mean? You know that wisdom at, you know, whatever, you know, it needs to come back, brother. So, you know,
that was some real stuff,
definitely
man.
appreciated the wisdom at the docks series. So
I mean, I was putting that stuff every day religiously.
yeah. So you gotta re-spark that. Give the people what they want. Give them what they need. Because there's a lot of people that it's a lot of dissension and divisive behavior online, and it's like all competitive. Like we don't understand that especially when you live in like metropolis areas, it makes you like more competitive. You know what I'm saying? And then even if people want to live in the outskirts of the cities, they're even more competitive because they want to be recognized, in the same capacity as the people who live in like the what we consider the more tougher environments. So sometimes those people go hard, they're like for reputation, and it's like that leaves us in a situation where we just competing against each other, even in conversation. Like I said many times, or you might have noticed many times, people say, you might say to somebody like, man, I had to walk 10 flights of steps today. And then somebody say, oh, that ain't nothing. I had to walk 20 flights of steps, and then when I got up to the other steps, they was broken, so then I had to climb up the window of the fire escape. And it's like, is this a competition, or who? I thought I was just expressing my day to, you know what I'm saying? And it's like competitive conversation, circular conversation seems to be the regular vernacular for a lot of our people, and that has to end. You know what I'm saying? We got to restore ourselves to where we used to be, right? Those people didn't do that with dissension. We know that. Those people didn't get things accomplished and create things and build things arguing about the shit. Like even with the story of the Tower of Babel, when they said, yeah, these people, overlay that with black people, right? They say, oh, these people got so arrogant with their knowledge, right? That they figure they gonna build a tower to heaven, and God said, I'm gonna fix y'all while y'all building. I'm gonna make y'all all speak different languages. Now y'all can't get along. Now y'all beefing, fussing, and fighting. And because we speak in different languages, because we call God a different language, or we've got a different tribal tongue or whatever, or we got different vernaculars.
Well, that's what they did. That's what that's what the civil rights did with the black community.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They taught us to be civil. And civil don't mean nothing because other countries can't get involved in other people's civil affairs. But when you got human rights, yeah, then you can get Ukraine type money from other countries. You know what I'm saying? But that's what civil rights did to us. It pacified us in our quest for human rights. And I would think that we might see the writing on the wall by now.
Nah.
But, like I said, we can't get things accomplished.
They're making Instagram dances.
Right.
That's more fun.
But more importantly, when we arguing, fussing, and fighting about nonsense. Like I said, I'm gonna leave y'all with this last point that I have to reiterate. If we in the car, speeding down the highway, and I'm driving the car, I'm behind the wheel, and the brakes go out, and I'm like, hey, the brakes just went out on this car. We doing like 100 miles an hour. My brakes not working. I can't stop this car. If one of y'all in the back start telling me that you tired of listening to WHYY, or you tired of listening to WDAS and Power 99 is better, what the hell good is that going to do for us stopping this goddamn car from plowing into something and killing us all? We need to come up with solution-based conversation, solutions on how to stop this fucking car that's reeling out of fucking control with our fucking sentient beings inside. How the fuck you gonna carry on your day if this car collide or go off a fucking ravine or some shit like that? You can't even carry on your argument about which radio station is better in this path to destruction. So realize the writing on the wall, develop situational awareness, and stop the bullshit.
No, they're gonna start talking about whose fault it is.
But then that would be circular. So and circular is redundant. Ashe, peace and benedictions. Only you can prevent cognitive dissonance. You know, and if you come across vital information, my opinion is your obligation to share it with the nation.
Mm-hmm. Facts all day.
And we out, man.
Oh, all right.